I think a lot of y'all get the opportunity, and I love that I'm in this space. I think a lot of y'all get the opportunity to say a lot of flawed because you know we can't really get into the bag. I'm ready to get into the full bag of what all this like. Some of you be saying and be capping. I want y'all to be honest about what's happening. No. What I'm saying is, when we get up into these spaces, we lean on making examples out of everybody else. I want to start making examples out of some of you. I'm telling y'all.
Who you gonna make examples out of?
Everybody. Because everybody up here cap about something.
Manny is out here, hold up, threatening to expose Joe Budden and other members of the show. Queen's Flip energy? Who's next on the list? That's right. On a recent episode of the Joe Budden podcast, it looks like Imani is getting fed up with the cast throwing shots at his lifestyle. They've been clowning his image, painting him as the nice guy with women, while hinting he's really moving like a dog. This all started when Imani was speaking on relationships and how people should move. Then Flip and Joe started talking among themselves. Imani clearly felt like he was being laughed at off mic. After that, he says he wishes there were a $1,000 tier so he could really speak freely. I'll get into that later, but his point was simple. You guys paint a fake picture. And now he's hinting at exposing people and putting them on blast. But what exactly is he talking about? They left it in the episode, so it's on us to figure it out. It sounds like he's implying some of these guys are doing things off camera. The details? Still unclear, but they always hint at cheating, club moves, and behind-the-scenes behavior, so it's pretty obvious what Manny is getting at. Even people on Twitter are starting to build theories. But here's the truth. Nobody is as slick as they think, and that includes the Joe Budden podcast crew. Sometimes it feels like they're trying to live low-key while calling it content. But every time they talk, they expose themselves, and that's what Imani seems to be calling out. But here's the issue. Why does he always threaten and never actually expose anything? He does this all the time, every other episode. Whether it's Monday or Friday on Patreon, at least once a week, he's talking about exposing someone, saying people are lying and capping, and it's been like that since he got there. At some point, you have to follow through. Right now, it just feels repetitive, and honestly, that's one of the problems with the Joe Budden podcast. A lot of build-up, nothing delivered. They hype things up every episode, but nothing happens. The pod has gotten so careful that even when they hint at stories, they stop. And when it comes to celebrities, they know they say nothing. Now let's talk about that $1,000 tier idea. Isn't the $25 tier supposed to be where you really go in? That's already more than Netflix and HBO. HBO is around $22.99. Netflix is pushing higher too. And now they're talking about $1,000? What kind of content is worth that? Nobody's paying that. Who is that for? Maybe a $50 tier where things get more raw. That makes sense. But $1,000? That's too much. I can't think of anyone worth that, not even prime Howard Stern. Maybe a $100 tier where everything gets exposed. But $1,000? That's unrealistic. You're not revealing government secrets. There's a limit to this. Let me know what you think. Even if it's a joke, that number is wild. For that price, you'd need real access and value. And here's another point. How do you pay the cast? You think Flip is okay with that and no raise? Same with Mark Lamont Hill? That wouldn't work. It feels like Imani just throws ideas out there, because if prices go up, pay has to go up. So how do you negotiate that? Does Joe raise tiers and keep salaries the same? There was even a Patreon discussion about whether owners should increase pay when someone outperforms their deal. And that's a real question.
And at that particular point in time, they said at the end of the contract was the number 2 player arguably in the NBA. He wasn't in the top 100 in pay.
Mm-hmm.
That's a problem.
That's crazy.
See, I don't hear the problem in that. I don't hear the problem in that, only because something has to separate the guy who is going to sacrifice and take a short because he's in a detrimental family situation versus the guy at the negotiating table who's always negotiating for a best case scenario. Those two people can't be in the same pool.
This went down during the Scottie Pippen talk, where they were breaking down how Pippen signed a lowball deal, then outperformed it quickly. Asked the owner, Jerry Reinsdorf, to raise it, and he was like, nah, I told you not to sign that. And it just seemed like people were revealing what they really think about the inner workings of the Joe Budden crew. The reason I say that is called the theory of availability heuristic. Basically, when people debate, they often reveal what's on the tip of their mind, their subconscious. So when someone talks about the scariest job in America, it's usually a job a friend or family member had, not the actual scariest job. Hope that makes sense. A lot of people are like, Danny, you're getting random. But I say it because in these conversations, people really reveal what they think about each other, and it's on us to decipher that. I think Joe, Mark, Ish, Imani, and Ice were hinting at how the Joe Budden Network runs things when they were discussing Pippen being underpaid, but let me know what you think. That episode also had an interview with the former owners of Prize Picks. I didn't even know Prize Picks sold a majority stake to a foreign party, and I was like, what if Prize Picks cancels their order with the Joe Budden podcast? Can the show sustain? Then I thought, if they can, how big was the Prize Picks ad? It's kind of assumed they were spending big, and I was like, if they lose it, can they survive? But let me know what you think. I actually liked the Prize Picks interview. I went in expecting it to be garbage, but I felt like I learned something. Of course, the answers were pre-packaged, but I got insight into ads, how they secure them, and all that. All right, y'all, let me know what you think about Imani hearing out the Joe Budden podcast, threatening to expose people for the 1,000th time, and what could he really be talking about?